Hello, Internet. My name is Nick. Nick the producer, and Walter has tasked me with recapping our Fantasy LCS leagues. He felt that it was necessary that someone documents his greatness and shows the world how much better he is at Fantasy LCS than anyone else, because that's what really matters. Fantasy LCS. Without further ado, let's go ahead and we'll get into our Week 1 matchups in the Zorozero League. Need to just do this real quick. Let's see. Okay. Yes. So in the Zero... Just scoot over a little bit. Is that good? Yeah, that looks good. So as we can see in the Zorozero League, can't really read that very well. Here we go. Let's do this. A good producer is always prepared for whatever might happen. I never expected I wouldn't be able to read the screen from here, but eyes aren't what they used to be. That being said, in the Zorozero League, we had Walter Ciades Fedchuk demolish his co-host of Chase Redshirt King Wassenaar by a score of 475.5 to 318.2. Walter had 4 players that had over 70 fantasy points, with Arrow being his primary leader with 82. Chase had 2 players over 60, Zig, and Yankos, his high number man, with 72.5. A gruesome defeat for Chase. And obviously, of course, the reason we're doing the recaps to praise Walter in his Fantasy LCS drafting expertise. I promise, he's an expert. That being said, we're going to move on to Game 2. That was Delta Bandits, the boys, against Sarucha's How Fast. And much like in the first game of our week, Sarucha's How Fast team just absolutely decimating his competition. Led by big man Caps with 111 points, he was able to counteract the 104-point performance that Delta Bandit's Reckless had. Delta Bandit also had Vander, who only brought up 6 points, which might be the lowest total for the week for any individual player, just looking at 2 rosters so far. In our third match of the week, we had UOL nickname Mai, Unicorns Greater Than TSM. I undoubtedly agree with that, sir. Versus Pelka Super Fresh's Tabs 5-Head. A stunning and kind of funny pun about Tabs, because he has a very large forehead. This was one of our closer series of the week, with Unicorns of Love nickname Mai winning 487 to 434. His strategy of drafting all Unicorns of Love players paying massive dividends. However, the high man was Hillasong with 89 points. The support doing a lot of work. It was very impressive for him. Excellent victory for Unicorns of Love nickname Mai, who has also been trolling Chase in the Discord, and that makes Walter very, very happy. Anytime someone makes fun of Chase, he is riddled with laughter. Our last match in the Zorozero League was Agent Q Baloney versus Reports Met Gala. Met Gala went out to a very large lead and never quite looked back, winning 464 to 373. His high man being H2K support Che with 85.85 points, only to be outdone in that matchup by Q Baloney's flex player Exile, who brought up 88.48. Excellent week so far in the Zorozero League, with Mr. Ciades being on top. He goes into a Week 2 matchup against Pelka Super Fresh. You have Delta Bandit versus Unicorns of Love nickname Mai, Q Baloney versus Sarucha, and my friend and the co-host of the Rough Drafts podcast, Redshirt King. He will be up against Report. With that being said, there are 2 leagues that the Rough Drafts crew is running. Let me go ahead and just bring up the KiwiKid stats now for you. Let's do that real quick. Yes. Yeah, it'll just take a second here, folks. Yes, here we go. All right, so we've got our... we got our... There we go, our Week 1 matchups for in the Kiwi League. I just need to bring it up on my screen here. This was a rematch between Walter and Chase. Chase actually came out on top of this one by almost as large a score as Walter did in the Zorozero League. It was 474 to 387, but the big man of the series was Reckless with 104 points. So Walter wants me to say, well, who's the real winner here? Obviously, it was Chase, but it was you, Walter. You had Reckless. You had the high point man. Congratulations. In our second match of the week, it was Nohabin versus Pelka Super Fresh. Pelka, another guy who's in both leagues, and he lost in both leagues in Week 1. Not very promising drafter, if we can say that. Nohabin's good old boys beating Wicked's forehead. Another joke. Wicked has a very large forehead, but it's not as large as Taps. I see where you're coming from there, Pelka. He had the high man, Soaz, with 104.3 points. His second place man was Fabivin with 89, and even his second place player outdid Tabs' best, which was Exile, who had 88.5 fantasy points. We now move on to the third matchup in the KiwiKid League. We had Agent Cubloni, another one that joined us on both leagues. He was up against McHugh, Fnatic greater than Roccat greater than G2, defeating the Ghost of NRG. The Ghost of NRG, unfortunately, starting Perks, who had 0 points, and Cubloni was able to get through there with two 80-point men in Samex and Shea. Very excellent week from Agent Cubloni. And then finally, the highest point getter in either of our leagues, Walter's brother, which again makes him a winner because his brother is his brother, so tangentially he's successful and a winner. Navas, whose team TSM's International Success defeated Fallen Death Star. GG, well played TSM. He had the highest point getter out of any of the players with caps, tying for someone in the Zorozero League. He led his team with 111.48 points. Broxa had 94 points. Nuclear 93, Arrow 82. A lot of large point totals for him over there, leading to that 510 point score. Unluckily for Fallen Death Star, they had the lowest point total out of either league, with only 319 points, bolstered by the fact that they started Trick in the Jungle, who did not score a single fantasy point. Unfortunate for them. But as Walter did say, his brother, highest point total in either league, so obviously that makes Walter a big winner. Matchups to look forward to in Week 2, we once again have Ciades against Pelka Super Fresh, GTL World Champs versus Wicked's Forehead. We have Nohabin against McHugh. We have Navas versus Agent Cuboloni, and Fallen Death Star will be taking on, who I thought was my good friend, Chase, Red Shirt King Wassenaar. Chase, if you're listening, why do you let him do this to me? Come on, I thought we were friends. Yes, Walter. Nope, that is all the time that we have for the Rough Drafts Fantasy LCS Recap. I hope you will join us next week, where Walter will continue his dominant streak of victories, and he will be sure to prove to every single one of you that he is not only the Guest Alliance World Heavyweight Champion, but also better than all of you at Fantasy LCS, because at the end of the day, Fantasy LCS actually matters. So until next time, I've been Nick the producer. Goodbye, Internet. Did I do good, Walter? Oh, I gotta hit stop recording. There we go. Goodbye. Hey there, Ciades here. Thanks for checking out the podcast. And if you enjoyed today's episode, consider supporting us at www.patreon.com/roughdraftspod.
For just $1 a month, you can join your fellow listeners in our patron-only Discord channel and help keep the content coming, or join our VIP club where $1 a show or $8 a month gets you first priority on all patron content like our patron-only Q&As. And check us out on all of our social media, Twitter @RoughDraftsPod, Facebook.com/RoughDraftsPod, SoundCloud.com/esportsroughdrafts, as well as on iTunes and YouTube by just searching for the Rough Drafts Podcast. Thanks for listening, and goodbye, Internet.